All right, excellent. Okay, everyone, welcome to our presentation from the Career and Professional Development Center here at WGU. This is From Boots to Suits. We will talk about how our military students and veterans can begin their job search, or if you're already in a job search or want to move to the next level, some things, tips that we can discuss when it comes to using your military background to help sort of enhance your qualifications, perhaps, or your ability to attract recruiters as you're on that journey for your career. Some of this information may be redundant. It may be something you've heard before or encountered. So it doesn't hurt to have that reinforced. Definitely, if there is something that you want to cover or ask during the presentation, certainly do that, and we'll attend to your needs or questions. So the first thing is that I often get, especially students who are in their programs, is when is the best time to start a job search? When should I really be able to, uh, submit my resume, develop my application materials, that sort of thing, prepare for interviews, all of the things that are involved with the job search. Um, and it depends on the industry. So if you're in the business college and you're getting a degree in business, sometimes they will not begin to recruit until, the spring or that particular fall for the next year. So it depends on the business need of those folks. In the IT, what I often see, IT and healthcare, it's just about any time. So they will have folks with, at times a pretty good rotation of employees. Folks will move on to a different company. They will be promoted and move up to a different position. So they have to fill that empty spot, right? So anytime, usually for those folks in the IT industry or healthcare, can begin to look around and do that search. If you're in the teachers college, obviously that's going to be reliant on seasonal uh, training and development, things of that sort. So usually they'll open up their hiring processes probably, I'd say, at least a couple of months, 2 or 3 months before the school starts, before that school season begins. So during the summer, I would spend time getting everything together, your licensure, if you have to do a teaching philosophy, things like that, so that when you begin to see those openings available, you've got everything ready and you can begin to apply at that time. So when we're looking at some specifics, it could be, really being able to be prepared by the fall, as early as September, perhaps, if you needed to have a kind of a concrete month or date to look at. So you do want to be serious about preparing for that job search and really kind of treat it as your full-time job, to, so to speak. You don't want to do it as an afterthought. So schedule time to prepare each component of your job search so that you already have that ready and you don't have to be concerned about, trying to catch up with that as you come along. So hopefully that will help with that. Other specific steps to take, folks who are career changers and they're trying to maybe figure out where they fit within a particular industry. Um, what are your reasons for changing careers? It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be situational, of breaking out of what you were doing in the past to something new. Sometimes folks don't know. They know that they want to make a change, They know they might want to go into the IT industry, but not exactly sure what that might look like. So, taking a self assessment could be a good idea to find out what are your interests, what's your background, what kind of environment do you work best at? Some folks want to work, with other people, with customers, with clients. They want to be kind of front and center in front of folks to help them with whatever their needs are to help solve problems. Others would prefer to work in the background, work behind the scenes to do the same thing. I like to solve problems. I like to break things down and build them back up, but I don't really want to work with the public. So, perfectly legitimate, perfectly fair. So, finding out a little bit about your personality and where and when you work best can be a good idea. Also, on our military and veteran page for WGU, we have a few different skills translators. So you put your MOS, you can put your whatever your occupational specialty is, what your job from the military was. Putting that into any of these skills translators will give you a civilian comparison um, of what you did in the military. That's a good idea if folks are trying to either confirm they're in the right place or trying to fine tune and really be able to nail down what they want to do. Because they may find, different job titles, keywords, skill sets that they're already using, but they didn't know that's where it fit. So those MOS and skills translators can be a really good tool to use as part of your kind of preparation, your job, your job goals. What are your career goals going forward? Identifying different employers as well. So identifying employers that are aligned to your interests, perhaps your degree plan, can be really good to find out what are they, who are they, what's in their background. A good way to do that, I'm going to, of course, kind of promote Handshake. All of the employers that are coming to the university to post jobs and internships, everything, everything will be in Handshake for that. So Handshake is not just a job board with the university, it is an all encompassing kind of career platform with many, many different uses and purposes. And this is one is to do employer research. Other ways you can use LinkedIn, you can use all kinds of go to their homepage, look at their about section, go to Glassdoor, look to see what other people are saying about that particular company. The more you know, the better you're going to be prepared for interviews. The better you're going to be prepared to make the right choice as you're going through your job search. So that researching is a really strong proponent of part of the job search. And again, that's going to help you to be prepared, even putting together your resume, cover letter, interviewing at that particular company. Because one of the interview questions could very well be, so Scott, tell us a little bit about what you know about our company. Why did you pick this particular role here with us? And why do you believe you would be a good candidate for the position? So knowing the company, who they are, what their product is, if they have a product, what their services are, can really help you answer those questions. And then that again helps you to make contact. LinkedIn's going to be probably a great way to do that so that you can come to know the employer, know a little bit about their background, what do they offer, are there additional pieces of information as you make contact with that employer. So again, breaking this down a little bit, as I just mentioned, the self-assessments that we have can help identify your interests. They can confirm what you already know about yourself according to your values. Skills are really big today. So having the specific skills and using those keywords will be really, really important as you're preparing for that job search. Now, as I said with the translators, translating your military skills and background into the civilian workforce, those skills translators may give you different job titles, different descriptions. I just did two real quick. For example, folks who may be in the IT sector, if they're coming from, let's say, a tactical position with the Marines, for example, they may have the kind of the muscle memory, if you will, of installation, configuration, networking, troubleshooting, working with internet types of components, fiber optics, network, local network components, databases, servers, things of that sort. I've had a few students who are in avionics, some that are coming from the Air Force who have worked with, maintenance, for example. And that again can help them understand the inner workings of not only hardware, but current software that's out there, equipment testing, radar systems. So they worked with sensors, navigation. Those can be transferable skills. And that's what those translators will help you identify, is to say, how would this job align to the civilian equivalent? Now, we talked about identifying employers using Handshake, Glassdoor, their own homepage, which is going to be important to do that. And one of the ways of looking at employers from different job boards and their own homepage is to find what we call the hidden job market. This means that they may have jobs posted on their own job board, for example, but no place else. They may not be on LinkedIn. They may not be on Indeed. They may simply be able to really target and kind of, we call it the hidden job market because it's kind of hidden from the public, but they may only want kind of the best of the best. And for people who really take the time and interest to search them out, are the ones they want to really be able to attract to those jobs. That could be internships. Again, looking at company websites, um, Glassdoor, as I said, professional associations are really, really good to look at as well. It doesn't mean you have to join a particular professional association, but sometimes they will post jobs that they're not putting anyplace else because they want people who are serious enough about their profession. So they're going to those professional organizations to do research or to, again, be only attracted through that medium, if you will. One that comes to mind is SHRM. SHRM is the Society for Human Resources Management. And if they're looking for HR professionals, where are the HR professionals going for their professional development? They're going to SHRM. They're going to that. If you're in IT and say you're in cybersecurity, where are you going to stay up with current trends when it comes to your background in cybersecurity? Probably like CompTIA, their homepage. That's where we get some of our some of our certifications. Um, Anything that's going to be cybersecurity as a professional organization or association where people gather of like-minded individuals, they could have a job board or posting internships where nobody else is doing it. So that's kind of the point, to look for those hidden in the hidden job market. It's also a great place again to research a little bit more about who they are. What do they do? What do they provide for either the public sector or the private sector? If some of these are really, their client is the federal government, for example, then again, they may not be putting that on LinkedIn. They're going to go only to where those contractors would be looking for those jobs themselves. That's why in that example, the about page could be helpful, or you could look them up on LinkedIn to see if that company is on LinkedIn, and do some research that way. It's very possible, and then reach out to the company. Speaking of LinkedIn, we just finished a very intensive LinkedIn workshop with our College of IT, and using those and understanding the algorithms that LinkedIn uses for searching, and if you're on there and you're setting up your profile, and this could be for other industries. It doesn't have to be for IT. So when you're setting up your LinkedIn profile, you really want to use the terminology for the industry that you're applying to. Um, Try to change your skills, your about section about yourself, what we call the headline, which is that part under your picture. You really want that to be um, about your professional self. That's there. Also, hashtags are good. So in the about section, at the end, you can use different hashtags. So can you, in the audience, can you give me an example? Perhaps what is your particular degree program that you're following or that you finished here at WGU? You can put that in the chat. It might be something I can use for an example. As you're doing that, I just want to give you an example of hashtags. Okay, so for cybersecurity, you can do hashtag cybersecurity. You can do hashtag network operations. There's some cybersecurity components in there. Anything like that that will, this is part of those algorithms that when you have that as part of your profile, at the very bottom of your profile, those can be used if recruiters are also using those hashtags to be found, to be present. Something that's not typically used or understood how it works, but it's a great way to start getting attention and updating your profiles. Now, within LinkedIn, there is a thing called the alumni tool. So if you have a LinkedIn page, do a search for Western Governors University, go to that homepage. Then in the center, there should be some other keywords and titles. Click on the word alumni, and it should pull up the alumni page um, under the official WGU LinkedIn. And that's where you can search for other students who are in cybersecurity, other students who are in a particular company that you may be interested in. It's a great way to connect with those folks and to learn a little bit about their background and where they're working. Um, Plus, I've heard from students to say that exercise of using the alumni tool really helped them feel confident that they're on the right track. So that could be a really good confidence booster for folks to work on. Now, once you got all this done, um, what do you do now? Well, now you need to prepare to apply for the kind of jobs that you find. And the first um, impression that employers are going to have will be your resume. So, similar to what I just said about LinkedIn, you want to have your resume as tailored to a specific job as much as possible. And using the job description, using the keywords from those job descriptions will help you to align with those applicant tracking systems, and especially the applicant tracking systems now that are using AI as a part of their search mechanisms. And sometimes they make the decision, so to speak, of advancing your application to the next level. So the way to, not necessarily trick them, but to be able to really optimize your opportunity by using the keywords and the job descriptions as you apply to jobs. So, some practical tips, and some of these may change, some of these may not fit your particular situation, but for the most part, if you can keep your resume one page and still be able to communicate and promote your strength to your industry, that would be great. And I hear recruiters say that, when they collect resumes or they need to print them out or they're passing them along to their colleagues to prepare for interviews, a one-page resume is a lot easier to use and handle. But if you can't, it's not a deal breaker. If it needs to be a page and a half and you have a two-page resume, you just want to make sure that it is as relevant to the job as much as possible that you're applying to. So there is still, and I saw this, I saw a sample resume, I guess a couple days ago, where they did not use bullet points, but they used more of like paragraphs or statements that had blocks of descriptions of what they did at their job. Employers still want bullet points. So I'm preparing some um, resources for our CV or federal resume format, like through USA Jobs. And they still really like to use bullet points. It's easier to read, it's quicker to find information. It's still an expectation with recruiters. So you want to, keep it in that bullet point format. Avoid using first person pronouns. So I, me, my. You don't need to use that on a resume. It's part of the writing style that you would not use first person pronouns. So you want to keep with what is still relevant when it comes to the formatting of this particular document. So again, using the skills that you match with the job description. If it's too generic sounding and too general, because, and just to be honest and transparent, I've had students say, you know what, I don't have time to do, different resumes for different jobs. I'm going to do one general resume and send it out there. Well, that's fine. My response is, how's that working for you? How many calls did you get? I mean, oh, I didn't get any. I don't have any interviews scheduled. Well, it's probably because if it's too general, it's not surviving that applicant tracking system. If you're just using generalities, that's there. So those skills, the job descriptions, being able to identify your accomplishments that are relevant to the particular role, all of those are going to only be helpful to enhance and optimize your resume for the job that you're applying to. If it's possible to make contact with an employer, again, as I said earlier, with going through LinkedIn or Handshake or Glassdoor, that's a great way to just let them know you're interested. You're not going to be a pest. You don't want to be, stalking them or anything like that. But that's an ability for them to, at least invite you to send a resume in, perhaps, or to go to the website to find open positions. Following them on LinkedIn, following that company, following that individual on LinkedIn, that's what it's for. So that starts to begin to generate interest that's there. So really good ways to make that contact with employers or with colleagues, other people who are in the same industry, that you are pursuing is a good way to get in front of those folks, to ask questions, to do informational interviews, things of that sense as well. That's right. So I like that. Scott says a broken clock is right twice a day. So, so good point. Well, I know we kind of went through a lot of the tips. Like I said at the beginning in introduction, some of these may be redundant. Some of them might have been, I already knew that, but that's how we're starting these particular sessions with this time of our day to introduce you to some things that will just reinforce what you may already know or open up questions for new things. So I'd be glad to take any questions if you have anything that we covered that you wanted more information. I know if you just joined us, we are recording this, so you will get a recording of the presentation. We will translate this into our YouTube channel, and then I will send out those links directly to you once we have that taken care of. But if you have any questions or you have any comments, now's a good time, and I'd be glad to try to answer those now. Yes, Scott, you have your hand up. Go for it. I don't know if you can come off mute, but you may be able to. You can try to come off mute. Let's see if I can do it.
Oh, great. Can you hear me?
All right.
Let's see.
I can hear you.
Um, you can?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, the broken clock was about the boilerplate resume.
Yeah.
If you send out 200 boilerplate resumes, you might get two back. Um, but no, my question had to do with cover letter. Um, would you recommend always having a cover letter to start with?
I would say there could be a strategic way of using cover letters, and I like cover letters, so I always kind of promote them. They have a really strong use if you're a career changer, or if you're changing, say you were in software development or help desk, and now you're going into cybersecurity and you're getting your degree, kind of that sort of pivot in your career. Cover letter can cover, you know, what is your next step? What is your interest in our company? Why are you making this particular career move, in a professional way? So cover letters can answer those questions um, much better than a resume can, because the resume is not designed to do that. So that cover letter can simply be a really nice professional introduction. And from other recruiters, I've heard from, they say that it shows a little bit of initiative that maybe other people are not taking. So if that's the kind of initiative you take applying to the job, then it could be a really strong indicator of the kind of worker you'll become.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, fantastic.
Other people have said that, with some job descriptions as part of the, say, the soft skills that are required, they may have a requirement of professional communication, you know, ability to professionally communicate both verbally and in writing. So they could use the cover letter as a writing sample of how you communicate. If you're writing reports, if you're, that sort of thing. So there's kind of multiple ways that cover letter can be used.
Okay, great. Um, in my uh, experience having sent out probably 200 um, resumes over the summer and getting two responses. Um, I found the hard way that um, my previous experience for getting jobs wasn't applicable anymore, and that large language models have taken control of the hiring process. Um, and so with that, I am for applying for jobs, I'm really focusing on making sure that my resume, um, the fat kind of floats to the top
Mm-hmm.
with not being creative simply using the job description to make sure that those keywords are inside of my resume, even if they're not the best descriptors of what I did in terms of relevant experience, they're relevant
Hmm.
to that job description. And so learning about that for the cover letter is also really important to me because, of course, the AI is also going to read the cover letters before they go to a human being.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and
but
both of those, as you're, applying to jobs and you're doing the best you can to use the job descriptions and those keywords, which those algorithms will be looking for those descriptors, both in the cover letter and the resume. That match rate, helps you kind of with that search engine optimization to kind of get you to the top, kind of using the Google's principle of rising to the top of the job search responses.
mhm.
So that's yeah, that's always going to be, and especially you're kind of testing the waters, and what you've done I think is a very natural thing, and obviously it's been very educational. If you're sending out lots and lots of resumes and not getting any return, then there's something that's not working somewhere,
Right.
somehow. So the only thing you can do, as you individually have done, is to understand and identify, what is the process of applying to jobs. If that first thing is the resume, and that resume is being read by those AI and also the ATS processes, then like I said, it's not so much about how to fake them out, but more so about keeping your integrity and keeping that transparency that's there. How can you best use and understand what systems are being used so you can optimize your opportunities?
Right. And one of the things that I found with probably about 100 of those resumes, um, I followed up with, and I found the hard way that it was my formatting that was getting them in the inbox and straight into the trash bin. Um, because I tried to make the resume look good. Unfortunately, that had the um, unknown consequence to me that they weren't being read by ATS, and so they
Right.
were immediately getting dumped into the trash. However, if this was a paper resume that I handed to somebody, it would have looked good. But because they
Yeah.
couldn't be scanned by ATS, they were immediately trashed.
Right, right. That's an excellent point, and that's very true. And I know that not as much today, but there were times I would get students, or I'd get people who were applying to jobs really trying to make the optics really look good. It's like, yeah, this is going to get the recruiter's attention of all these great graphics and things that I'm using. And that's the answer. The answer is, yeah, but that's not being seen by a recruiter first. And those ATS scans, they're not, they're ignoring those pictures. They don't see that. They see words.
And with that, does font matter? Can you just do New Times Roman or Helvetica? Will it matter at the end of the day?
I I don't know if it will matter at the end of the day, and I have not really investigated this as far as like doing research on it, but my impression when it comes to those two, a serif font or a sans serif font, the sans serif fonts are easier to read. I think. I mean, even for humans, for people to be able to read just like a Arial or Calibri, um, and keep in mind that when the resumes and cover letters get to human people, they're probably reading, several of these a day, right? So I would just practically say make it easier on the eye and just use a nice, simple sans serif font like Arial, Calibri. I think Verdana is one, things like that. Um, at the end of the day, I don't think it has a great deal of importance. Although some people in the C-suite on the business, if they're going for a management or even a VP operations, they may like to see Times New Roman because it looks more professional or business like. But that's kind of personal opinion. Um, for the ATS or the AI operations, I don't think they distinguish as long as those um, character recognition protocols work. I think that's all they care about.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Um, in terms of volunteering, where should that show up on the resume?
I would put usually in the volunteer. Um, there's two answers. I mean, one direct answer is put it at the end of your kind of your paid experience, your work experience, and just have a separate section called volunteer experiences, and then put those there. Um, that's probably the most direct way to put it, and it looks perfectly fine.
Okay. And this is clubs that I'm volunteering with at
Mhm.
WGU. So they're cybersecurity clubs. Um,
Yeah, that would look good. That would look really good on your resume.
nice. And the other one that has to go with that has to do with internships for cybersecurity, and IT in general. Uh, internships are, it seems, mandatory, unless you have an inside in a company. They need to see hands-on proof.
Hmm.
Uh, so you mentioned already, CompTIA. I would add to the list NIST and ISC2. Um, finding internships is not easy, and oftentimes for um, adults with you know uh, bills, it's kind of difficult. Do you have any recommendations on what's effective?
Yes, and I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Excellent.
So for the internships that we have an internship manager.
Mhm.
She's fairly new. She's kind of building that department from the ground up. She comes from higher ed in the background, some other companies that worked with internships. So she's bringing that knowledge and those skills to WGU and to the Career Center. And she will be and has been putting in any internships that they gain. All of that will be in Handshake, and they're all paid. They may not be, they're not going to like fill up your bank account probably, but she told us this recently that we are not accepting unpaid internships. If you do the work, you should be compensated, for that. I don't have any insights as far as kind of what's the starting salary of that, and does it cover um, um, benefits and things like that. But the job descriptions that you would find for any particular internships should include that. This is not part of WGU, but it is other ways of looking for that kind of experience that you're talking about. Forage is one, and it's theforage.com, and the other is parkerdewey.com, and they do what's called micro internships. So they're companies and partners with these sites that are project based. So exactly what you're talking about, that you would work on specific projects, um, and I guess at the end, will you get a certification or a badge or something that you could add to your resume and add to your LinkedIn profile, for example? Um, somehow to show that proof of hands-on experience. Um, so right now, those are the three that come to mind.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, Especially the project oriented that the just building up records and documentation of
Right.
projects that have been done, especially ones that are referenced you're able to reference with another company or something like that. That's really great.
Exactly right. Yeah, and that's what gives it its power, is being able to cross-reference that with, with the company where you have been, kind of supervised, if you will, or coached, in a good way with that. So yeah, good stuff.
And then on the resume, the internships will be under work experience as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's typically where I've seen them, and across the different, um, other career advisors and resume writers, that the internships would be in with your work experience, because that's what it is. And you could put internship in, parentheses, if that helps. But yeah, and employers like to see this, like, oh, okay, you did an internship, at these places or locations, or for this particular Parker Dewey, um, offering. So they like to see that just in and of themselves. So, um, you always want to be able to identify it on your resume.
Fantastic. I think that's all the questions I had.
All right, great. Well, I will stop the recording and